psychology of capitalism when you think about it. So I switched over to marketing, and I now work for one of the biggest corporations in the world, and I make a lot of money. Like, I make good money for someone coming out of college. I have a nice apartment. I'm able to afford trips and the things that I want and clothes that I want. And I'm very grateful to be in the position that I'm in, but I feel like I'm supposed to be happy. I really thought that once I got here, I would be satisfied, but I'm not. In reality, I feel really low energy when I wake up in the morning. My alarm goes off and I have like this instant feeling of like dread, like this like weight on my shoulders and like this kind of like anxiety.
You know, one of the things I picked up in that initial statement right here, right, is when she mentioned afford. I'm able to afford these trips. Perhaps you can afford that luxury apartment. Perhaps you can afford that, new 2021 car. But do you really need that financial obligation? Do you really need your money to be going towards that amount, right? If you have this luxury apartment taking up almost 50% of your monthly income, is that really beneficial for you? That's just something else you're adding to that you could say is draining you, right? And it's making you need that job to sustain your current lifestyle.
In terms of money, we have no money.
Honestly, I do believe there's some truth in saying that your job is draining. You come back from work, you feel tired, you don't want to do anything. But if you have all these extra financial obligations, you're essentially running a rat race, right? For that luxury apartment, for example, right? 50% of your income right away is going towards just living. Perhaps it might be beneficial to maybe lower that monthly overhead, because rent is usually people's biggest monthly expense, to maybe 30% of your monthly income. Maybe have a roommate for the short time, right? Until you can get your own place in terms of like owning it, right? And then that car. What major difference is a 2021 car compared to a 2016 or 2017 type of car? Without the monthly payments, right? And the added stress of not missing payments. Pay off the car in full and then go about your day and be less stressed and be more free. If you really want to venture outside of your regular 9-to-5 job or whatever type of job you're working, you have to be more stingy with your other financial obligations that make you almost dependent, heavily dependent on said job. How much of your monthly income are you currently saving? You would ideally, maybe your goal should be to have at least 6 months worth of expenses covered. So if your monthly expenses, let's say, is $2,000, you have at least $12,000 saved up, so that for the next 6 months, if you quit, you'd be good. And maybe during that time, you get a part-time job that allows you to sustain your lifestyle a little bit as you maybe do other creative endeavors. But if you're not saving and you're not splurging, but like you're spreading yourself thin in various different financial realms, you're working a job is not going to be fun.
And I know for me, I feel this feeling of like, if I'm not productive, if I'm not hustling, then I will not be financially stable, and I cannot afford this lifestyle that I've been taught that I should want. And even when I'm resting, like even on the weekends, I feel like I'm just honestly resting to refuel myself for the next work week. And I don't think that this feeling is natural. Like, I don't think that this hustle culture and this anxiety that's a lot of times rooted in feeling like you have to perform at your best at all times and you have to bring so much of yourself to a 9-to-5 job that really you don't actually value. I don't think that that's natural. And I feel like we've normalized this, and we've normalized the anxiety and the depression that comes with this overproductive culture, because we've been taught that this is the only way to live. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's plenty of people who love their 9-to-5 job. There's plenty of people out there who love going to school and love class, and this is their dream life, and that's totally fine. But I'm realizing more and more that there's way too many people who don't feel the same way. There's way too many people who wake up every single day and feel a sense of anxiety and dread about starting their day because they're spending a majority of their days doing things that they don't love because they've been taught that that's the only route. And I think because it's so unnatural, we kind of start to numb ourselves to how it actually makes us feel, right? Like, I know for me in college, I learned that you deal with stress and you deal with being overproductive by drinking. Like, I know for me, I've seen some of these smartest people numb themselves with drugs and alcohol on a daily basis to deal with how stressed they feel and how much pressure they put themselves under in order to be successful. And a lot of people, even if they're not doing drugs or drinking all the time,
This is a perfect example, right? It's not even just physical drugs, right? Not just the mainstream drugs such as alcohol, but also marijuana, coffee, pornography, right? All these things not only essentially, well, pornography to a lesser extent, but a lot of them cost money. So you're spending money on these substances. In a lot of cases, you're probably losing productivity on these substances, right? Especially if it's a everyday thing, right? If you're smoking marijuana damn near most of the week, drinking alcohol most of the week, you're masturbating to pornography most of the week. For a lot of people, if you really want that dopamine spike, you can get the same amount of dopamine in physical activity, joining martial arts, joining a cross-country team, joining some type of intramural squad or intramural league. I'm sure many of you have realized it yourself, but there's a certain high effect or feeling of euphoria you get after completing a workout. The initial stages of actually going to do the workout or going to the gym or whatever isn't all that all that enticing, but the euphoric effect afterwards, definitely top tier.
This, by working out, by exercising, by having mild stress on the body, we are training the brain to become more resilient, which is exactly why we feel so good. Stress literally doesn't affect us as much because the BDNF has put this protective layer around the brain cells so they don't get affected as badly. It's truly remarkable, and it actually has effects that stick. So even when you're working out and you feel amazing and then you kind of come down from that workout high, you're still at a baseline that's higher than you were before. Each and every time you work out and you increase that BDNF, you are increasing your brain cells' resilience. So that little bit of stress that you put yourself through is doing amazing things in terms of getting you, well, high, so to speak.
And also, one of the things that definitely comes with, substances or drinking alcohol, whatever, is the camaraderie, being around other people. So maybe doing some type of physical activity that involves other people will definitely help you get that feeling of escapism, but in a more beneficial and positive manner. So just Google search, physical activities near me in my local area, martial arts near me, or something near you, some type of physical activity near you, or some type of club near you. Join and be a part of it.
A lot of times people will turn to escapism in order to ignore what's actually going on in the world, right? So it's like binging Netflix for hours a day or getting lost in reality TV. It's like there's so many different coping mechanisms that you could choose in order to escape your actual reality and pretend like you're not actually unsatisfied.
Oh, and in terms of like addiction, once again, right? If you genuinely feel you're not addicted to something, I'd highly recommend you go a month. Go a month without your substance of choice and let me know if you're not addicted to it. If you can't even go, let's say can you even go 2 weeks without masturbating? Can you go 2 weeks without smoking? 2 weeks without alcohol? 2 weeks without coffee? If you can't, I'd say at least 2 weeks, but the definite barometer is a month. If you can't even go 2 weeks or a month without your substance of choice, you're probably addicted. And it might behoove you to look at some resources online that help you with that. Not only are you spending a lot of money on these things too, but also you're losing productivity, losing adequate sleep. You're not really showing up as your best self in a lot of cases if you're overusing them and abusing it essentially.
With the life you're living.